Garden tour, September 25th, 2023. So this is the first garden tour of the fall season. As I think you can see, some of the leaves are starting to change color. Starting to get down into the 40s at night. Actually, it probably gets pretty close to getting into the 40s every night. So here's the peas and rye mix going strong. Actually, one last bit of cover cropping that I hadn't done yet this year was to finish off this last area. So I did that the other day. Chopped out all the dead mulch with a weed whacker, moved it aside, and planted the rye and peas mix, and then tossed it back over to mulch the area. So this area here, which was my first few beds that I ever used, and that area back there, which still hasn't been grown in yet other than cover crop, these will be the rye cover crop next year. So we'll give it a rest. Well, we'll give these upper parts a rest next year. And we'll expand elsewhere. But then we'll have the full 50-foot beds that we've created, you know, from the tomato tunnel towards the river. Those will be full 50-foot beds next year, so that'll be a neat place to grow in. Here is the original kale bed, and as you can see here, or maybe you can't, but this is my kale, or what once was my kale. We've had a deer visiting. Evidently he likes kale and cabbage, as you'll see further down. But you can see here under these pumpkin plants, he didn't get in there yet. Maybe he's just saving that for his next meal. Also didn't get down here too close to the sprinkler. Maybe he doesn't like that. Hopefully he'll leave me some kale for next week. I got enough to have a few bags for this week. There's a sugar pie pumpkin, a few romaines that are, I think I took one of those for this week's market. As you can see, the squash and pumpkin plants are starting to react to the colder weather at night. Starting to die off, but we've got plenty of good fruit. This is a big Max pumpkin here. Got a couple out there, one of which is starting to, actually I guess they're both starting to change color. Those will be neat fall decorations. We've also got plenty of butternuts. I went around and, inspected. I think there might be a couple that are ready, but I'm going to give them all one more week and harvest a bunch of them. Start bringing those to market. Here's the shishitos. Got a decent haul of shishitos this week. The peppers are, got a little too, planted a little too late, and the weather was just too cool to really get them to pump it out this year. But this year's peppers were better than last year's peppers, so if it continues that way, next year should be a really good pepper year. Oh, look at this, we've got some Jack B. Little pumpkins that are, looks like probably rotting on the vine. Nice. Got a watermelon. The okra is still producing a little bit. Took my first spaghetti squash today. There's some maintenance in here that could be done, but at this point it's not going to make a big difference, so that's low on my priority list. Got some Carmen peppers in here, but there's not a lot of them, so I'm going to leave them till either they start to change color or right before frost. Here's some of my zucchini, summer squash, yellow zucchini plants. This one looks like it might be toast. But they're still inching along. They're producing a little bit every week, so they're not totally dead. So I'm gonna keep them. I'm gonna let them keep doing their thing. Get this beautiful Thai basil. Actually, that might be. I think that's cinnamon basil. Thai basil's behind me. Oh, what else? I think I've chopped up. Well, there's one of my, I think that might be an Arbison tomatoes left, but on this trellis here, the tomatoes are pretty much gone. I left this little stump here because the Malabar spinach is enjoying it as a climbing post. These nasturtiums are, you know, going wild. Beautiful plants. Here's my bush tomatoes. Blight got the better of these ones. So I'm just leaving the fruit on the vine to ripen up. Been taking a few off of these plants each week. Those plants down there, the blight is starting to knock them out. Sometime in the next day or two, hopefully I'll get a chance to get in there and prune them up a little bit. If not, you know, I mean, the fruit that's going to be created has been created. Now it's just a matter of how much of it ripens before frost. So we'll see. We've also got some peppers that are starting to come along in this second planting of peppers here. So we've got some bell peppers here. We've got some more Carmen peppers there. For now, I'm leaving the peppers, like I said, until they start to show color or a frost, whichever comes first. Beans are petering out. I got a handful of beans off this week, but nothing to write home about. Bees are loving this dahlia. And you can hear that buzzing. Kind of a neat sound in the garden. Here we go. Here's another of my friendly deer's favorite snacks, beet greens. Been eating beet greens, carrot greens. Yeah, I guess it's that time of year. I'm gonna share with the deer, the local wildlife. Here's some big okra. Looks like it's got some flowers that are gonna open. Luckily the sun's coming out today, so that'll help with that. I did harvest quite a few beets, quite a few carrots out of these two beds this week. Deer also like cabbage. You can see there's deer hoof prints right up the middle of this bed. So deer finished off most of my cabbage. You can kind of see it up there in a pile. That'll be going to the compost pile here shortly. So I stuck this motion activated solar light in here. See if maybe that slows them down. I don't know, just giving it a try. So it charges up in the sun during the day, and then at night, if something comes near it, flicks on. Maybe that'll scare the deer away. Still harvesting celery out of this bed every week. Still getting a few Napa cabbage every week. Here is, those Roma beans over there are actually still producing decent beans. I picked out a lot of the junk, overripe ones. And it's got some late season kale and Swiss chard on this side of it. So let's turn around and go this way. These yellow zucchini, green zucchini. You can see I'm getting a few zucchini off this thing. They're not real happy this time of year. Bugs, weather, age. But they're still producing a little bit, so I'm going to let them keep going. I might get in there and trim them up, but I might not. Here is the shishito bed with some Thai basil. That smells delicious. Or wonderful. Got a few handfuls of shishitos out of this bed this week, so I'm happy with that. Here is my second planting of cabbage, or what once was. Deer came through here. Got a few of the cabbage. Kale. You know, eating good in the neighborhood. These flowers, cosmos, they're not enjoying the cool weather at night, so they're on their way out. The romaine is looking nice. I harvested one from this spot this week. Still getting some beets out of this original beet planting. You can see here's got some kale, some Swiss chard, and some late season peas in this bed. So hopefully those will take off a little bit and grab this trellis and give me some late season peas. This is what was the onion beds. You can still see, you know, a couple small onions I left in the bed just to give them some time to grow. Got some stevia in the middle, which is still growing. And these cukes are petering out, but they're still giving me 2 or 3 cukes a week, so I'm going to let them keep doing their thing until they're totally fried or frozen. And that's the better way to put it. There's another stevia. I'll harvest that before frost, dry it out, use that as a sweetener. Sunflowers are towards the end of their lifespan. They're still pretty. I'm going to do a lot of trimming. They're not producing anywhere near the amount of cut flowers as they were. So it won't be long now. Those will be toast. Zinnias, you know, that's got to be once you get it going, one of the most resilient things in the garden. They just keep going and going until that first 32. Once it hits 32 degrees, they're toast. Somewhere right around there. But until then, it's a beautiful part of the garden. Look at that little, I think it's called the teddy bear sunflower. And the marigolds are still as beautiful as ever. Here's my little late season planting of lettuce, scallions, and leeks. It's pretty weedy. I gotta get in there and weed it out a little bit. But I can see that there's some germination has taken place. I don't think I'm gonna have time to weed it today. But the next time I'm here, probably in 2 days, I'll probably clean it up. Maybe try to tuck some radishes in there. Or I guess I could probably tuck some radishes in this bed. Now the deer ate the cabbage, there's not much going on in there. I want to put one last planting of cabbage in for the, radish. So, you know, fall garden. Still beautiful, still producing food. But it won't be long now, we'll be chopping it all out and pulling the tarp. Well, that's about the gist of it. Happy growing.